guests on Keel heard via the Jack Spring Electric Keel Newsmaker hotline. And one of those is Shreveport City Councilwoman LeVette Fuller. Hey, Miss LeVette, welcome back to Keel. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing good.
So I don't know what of the mayor's conversation, what of our conversation with the mayor you heard.
Let me tell you this, Robert. When you take the $500, you don't have to pay for the car anymore. It is still your $500. When the city doesn't charge you those taxes anymore, that is your money. You do get to keep that money. It is the savings because it's your money.
Let's sort of.
We don't have any more, but you do get to keep it and make other decisions.
Thank you. Let's sort of start with that mayoral analogy from yesterday.
Wait, people are going to get mad at me for interrupting, but you sometimes, like, I'm all caffeinated right now, and sometimes you take a long time to get to the question.
Sometimes you might tend to disagree with the mayor. Was yesterday and the comments he made on the bond issue one of those?
Maybe a little bit. One thing that I was concerned about was the lack of thoroughness. Like, I didn't like people calling it rush, and I do still think that there was a lack of thoroughness. For instance, if you go to A.B. Palmer Park and say we're going to be going to the neighborhoods to determine where we put in substations, well, that is a conversation that should have been had up front before the bond was presented. And if we put in the 200 or plus hours of study that was put in 2010 going into 2011, then we might have more information than we have off of 40 hours of study that happened this time.
A concern of Erin's all along, if you've seen her shirt, the bond issue sucks, changed my mind. One of her biggest concerns all along has been the issue of trust. You, a long time ago, it's one of the greatest lines on Keel. What was it you said about the goldfish and the puppy? Would you care to repeat that for us?
I'm not going to give you a puppy until you prove you can take care of a goldfish, and Shreveport keeps killing the goldfish.
Okay.
The person who got our insurance, as far as municipal licenses in African Americans in Shreveport, the person who got that business was not in Shreveport and is in Dallas now. If we're looking to work on fair share or trying to build capacity in the Black community, regardless of how your listeners are going to feel about that. I've heard some conservatives that actually think, okay, fine, let's build the capacity. There is a way to have done that and been transparent about how you do it by working with the people who already had those contracts to see what we could negotiate so that we could keep that money in the city. And that could have been done if we used a full year to actually determine a path instead of doing it hastily.
Was the insurance deal, was the way that was handled by the mayor 10 months ago, 11 months ago?
I think it's really trying to pander to the wrong part of your base to say that you were going out for Black. You're going out for some Black contractors.
Was that, when it comes to the bond issue, was that the deal breaker for you?
No, the deal breaker with the bond issue was the bond issue itself. I mean, everything I've said, like, I know we have these needs, and I said it last week. I am in full support of first responders. I am the child of a first responder. My issue is that we have not been thorough enough with what we're presenting to the voters, and I did not want to put this out to the voters until we had done enough work to make sure we were doing the exact same thing that we needed to do. I'm down here right now on my own dime for a planning conference that looks at planning, infrastructure, poverty, ways that cities can make lives better for everybody that lives in the city. And there are new methods of building stormwater sewers and infrastructure, like for stormwater capture, that we should be considering. And if we had been thorough enough, we might actually take some of those things into account. And some of those things are cheaper and easier to maintain and possibly cheaper to maintain and actually provide an improved quality of life for our city. These are things that we have not taken into account in the way that we have presented this information.
Let me mention, since you bring up that, the mayor said yesterday, I'm almost quoting, we will spend more money as a city maintaining our infrastructure.
Based on whose assessment? I want to know where these assessments are coming from and if we need to get a secondary assessment to see if that's actually true.
But we don't even have $186 million to spend on maintenance. You know what I mean? I think that was
right. We're not. If that's the truth, then we should already be budgeting for it or aiming for budgeting for it. But budgeting for maintenance is not sexy. And something that was said yesterday in defense of all municipalities is no municipality is properly budgeting for maintenance of their great infrastructure, and that's a general problem that everyone is having. But the thing is, when we start talking about these assessments and what it's going to cost us, are we also looking at models for a diminished population? You see what happened in St. George, and I've heard Grayson Butcher, Councilman Butcher, kind of assert and kind of hint that he has enough people out there who vote, who pay a lot in taxes, and feel pretty strongly that they could sustain themselves without being a part of the city. And they might actually not mind paying more for the opportunity, just not to be attached. You see what just happened down in Baton Rouge with St. George. Do we really want to push toward that? I'm just throwing it out there. Now, I don't think that without industry actually providing any sort of mechanisms and revenue in the south part of the city, they could do that. But it's still it should still be part of the conversation. Not just that diminishing population, but our regularly happening diminishing population. The metropolitan statistical area for Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Bossier Parish, Webster Parish, just maybe even DeSoto, it is actually increasing. The decreases are happening in the Shreveport city proper.
Absolutely. The mayor told us yesterday he also went before the Rotary Club saying...
Well, that sounds not friendly enough.
No, you're good. Things will be done differently this time. He says he knows there have been delays and promises made in the past that were not kept, but he will do things differently. How do we trust that?
To some extent, he may have every intention to do things differently, and I'm willing to take him at his word on that. He's a smart guy, and they are really trying to do some good things. I mean, and there are a lot of things that Mayor Perkins is doing that I respect and I'm excited about, and so he might do things differently, but that's also going to have to come down to the council. If it goes through, I'm going to do what we need to do to make sure that we are good stewards of that money, but all he needs is 4 votes. It may not matter what the hell I have to say.
I brought this up with Aaron yesterday, and I've brought it up a bunch of times. We need a new police station.
Okay.
We need new fire trucks. There's a whole bunch of stuff we need.
The most intense need we have is to get our officers out of that black mold. That's nasty. That building is gross.
If we don't pass this bond issue, what's the alternative down the line? We will, in fact, we're going to have to pass some kind of issue eventually, some kind of bond money eventually. And until...
And if it doesn't pass now, what we might be looking at is going out for new taxes next fall. And we're going to have to fight hard for that. And guess what we will have to be? Thorough. Guess what we are going to need?
So
the trust of the voters.
What's the alternative to this bond issue?
We're going to have to
that
get
you
creative.
don't. Pardon me.
I mean, I think that we're going to be in trouble a little bit. I think that there are certain things that we're creeping up with that we might have to take a different needs assessment on. We're going to be on critical needs.
So we're kind of between a rock and a hard.
Parts of the city council, of City Hall, like the police, not City Hall, the police station. Parts of that may just have to be sealed out. People might be in more cramped quarters until we can do something better. And we will have to maintain older vehicles and older materials until we can get more money.
Kind of between a rock and a...
other things we have to cut. A hard place. Yes.
Kind of between a rock and a hard place of our own doing, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And it didn't happen overnight. We're not going to fix overnight. We're not going to do it on the backs of a diminishing population.